Okay, I wanted to talk about how to download the data from your Harvestright freeze dryer. You will be using this USB port for changing your versions of the software, but also this will download the data that's in your freeze dryer, and you can take that and convert it to an Excel spreadsheet and see what your dryer is doing. So the first thing you have to do is get a USB, clean USB. They don't want you to have anything on here. 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes to download the data, but it has to be clean. That's what the technicians say. So first thing you do is turn it off. So reach back here, so turn it off. Then you take your clean USB stick and put it in there. Then turn your dryer back on. Let it come up, and there it's downloading the data to the stick. And this takes a few seconds for it to do. Okay, then once it gets to this point, you can just remove your stick, and then we'll go load it on the computer. Okay, I'm back at my desk. I've got the Harvestright data from the USB drive downloaded. And if you open that up, it gives you all the data that downloaded, and this is all your freeze dry cycles that you went through. So let's look at one of these. We'll open this up. Okay, so it opens up this Excel spreadsheet. First thing I do is format the cell. I check time. I just take this simple one, hours, minutes, say okay. That tells you what time you're looking at, and they're in 1 minute intervals. Then I select, these 5 columns. You got time, pressure in millitorr, if the heater's required, if the heater's on, and then your shelf temperature, which is shelf number 3 inside your freeze dryer. I insert a graph. Here's your graph of the cycle, and this normally starts up here, but I usually put a vacuum on the chamber first just to seal the door, make sure it's sealed. But this is coming down, so you can see it's coming from 120,000 down to like next to nothing, so you can't see the data. So what you do is you select this axis, format your axis, then you'll get this information. I go -50 and then 1,000. 1,000, and that should cover everything. Hit enter, and here is the actual when it's actually doing the freeze drying. So your vacuum's down in the 500-600 millitorr range. So when it drops below 500 millitorrs, your heaters will come on. That heats up your trays, which then you have the sublimation going on where the ice is going to a vapor. As it heats up, the pressure will come up as that moisture is coming off, and then when it gets above 600 millitorr, so it will turn off, and then the vacuum will come back down, and it just cycles back and forth until you get over here where it's not, the moisture's pretty much out of it here, and then this is just a continued dry cycle. So this is your end of your cycle. It's dry, but it's getting any last moisture out of here, and you can see how your heater is coming on and is calling for more heat. Down here is your pressure. The red is your heat, or orange is your heat required. The heater on is the gray, and then this is your shelf temperature with the yellow. So then you can see what a normal cycle looks like. You can go through here and see what's happening with all the data. It's a really good system. I learned about this when they were troubleshooting my other one. So anyway, that is for a normal one. I'll probably make a bit, or I'll add a little bit on the end of this for what abnormal looked like, and that's the way mine was at first. There was something wrong with my first freeze dryer, so I didn't even know what normal looked like. So I will continue and find that file so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I've got the data recorded for, or downloaded for the freeze dry cycle when I first got my first freeze dryer, and there was issues with it, and it had at first the touchscreen would only let you go to like one. You'd hit it once, and then it would just lock up and wouldn't let you do anything else. So they sent me a new touchscreen, but with the touchscreen you get the USB card, so I got a new USB card and the touchscreen. And then after that, I didn't think it was working right because it kept going into alarm all the time, and it was really frustrating. And this is the data, so you can see where pressure comes down here, but it doesn't start its cycle until over here. All of a sudden it starts doing it. This is kind of normal, so I would see it doing stuff normal for a while, but this wasn't making sense, and I was getting alarms in here, and I was getting alarms on this end. And at the end, you notice it should just kind of drop down and stay dry, but I kept getting these high pressure. I think the problem was the pressure sensor, and it was just not quite working right, and it was confusing the control module. So this shows an abnormal one. So if you get your freeze dryer and you download the data and it's working normal, you can get your graphs, you can look at the normal stuff, and then if something happens, you can possibly troubleshoot it and figure out if it's the what it is. I think this was the pressure sensor, but we never got to that point. I finally just got fed up with it and told them send me another dryer, and they did, and it's working fine. So I think it was just a lemon. They were willing to work with me and got me a new one, and I appreciate that. So you guys have a blessed day.